Captain Zetharay's 3 hearts hammered against her ribcage as she watched the tactical display. The crimson dots representing Krillian death ships formed a perfect sphere around the research station. 47 vessels, each capable of cracking a moon in half. Against them stood her single cruiser and 2 escort frigates. "Ma'am, we're receiving another transmission from Research Station Omega-7, her communications officer reported, his voice cracking. "They have maybe 6 hours of life support left." Zetharay's mandibles clicked in frustration. The Galactic Council had been clear, no rescue mission. The station was too deep in Krillian space, too heavily guarded. The 18 scientists trapped inside would have to be written off as casualties of war. But, among those scientists was Dr. Elena Vasquez, the human who had discovered the quantum-fold drive that could end this war. The Krillians knew what they had. That's why they'd attacked the remote station instead of simply destroying it. They wanted the humans' research, wanted to crack her mind open and steal the secrets that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up something," the tactical officer called out. "Single contact, bearing 77 Mark 12. It's big." Zetharay moved to the sensor station, her forearms working quickly across the controls. What she saw made her blood turn cold. The contact was massive, easily 3 times the size of her cruiser. But, according to the readings, it was moving at impossible speeds through the asteroid field that surrounded this system. "IFF signature?" she asked. "Negative, ma'am. But, the energy readings are strange. I'm seeing fusion signatures, but also something else. Something I've never encountered before." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. Every species in the galaxy had their own distinctive engine signatures. The Vorthak used antimatter, the Selenites relied on solar collection, even the primitive Krillians stuck to basic fusion. But, this was different. "Captain," the communications officer's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm receiving a transmission. Audio only. It's in Standard Galactic. Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was unlike anything they'd heard before. Deep, steady, carrying an odd accent that none of them could place. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the TCS Retribution. We received your distress call regarding the trapped research team. Stand by." Zetharay's translator struggled with some of the words. TCS was unfamiliar, and retribution seemed to translate roughly to payback or settling scores in her language. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Zetharay of the GCS Swift Current. Identify yourself and your species. Are you aware of the tactical situation?" A low sound came through the speakers, something between a growl and a laugh. "We're human, Captain. And, yes, we're well aware of the situation. 47 Krillian ships, all heavy cruisers or better, holding a research station hostage. They want our scientist back." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Human. They'd heard rumors, stories passed around the Outer Rim colonies. A new species that had recently joined the galactic community. Young, aggressive, supposedly from a high-gravity death world. Most species dismissed them as primitive newcomers who would learn their place soon enough. "Captain Chen," Zetharay said carefully, with respect, "this is a military situation beyond your capabilities. The Council has already determined that rescue is impossible. I suggest you withdraw before the Krillians detect your presence." The human's response was immediate. "Captain, we appreciate your concern. But, you're operating under some misconceptions. First, the Krillians detected us the moment we entered this system. Second, we don't recognize the Council's authority to abandon our people. And, third, impossible is not a word we use." On the tactical display, the single massive contact was moving steadily toward the Krillian formation. It wasn't trying to hide or use stealth. It was approaching directly, almost casually, as if 47 warships were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. "Are you insane?" Zetharay's professionalism cracked. "That's a full battle group. Even if you have heavy shields and armor, the mathematics are impossible. No single ship can engage that many opponents and survive." "Captain," the human said, and now there was something cold in his voice. "You don't understand humans very well, do you? We've spent our entire history being told what's impossible. Crossing oceans in wooden boats was impossible. Flying was impossible. Splitting the atom was impossible. Leaving our homeworld was impossible. We don't listen very well when people tell us what can't be done. The tactical officer's hands flew across his console. Ma'am, the human vessel it's doing something to space around it. The readings are incredible. It's like they're bending gravity itself. Impossible, Zethare whispered, then caught herself. That word again. The human ship, the Retribution, was now visible on their main screen. It was unlike anything in their databases. Angular where most ships were curved, dark where others were bright, bristling with weapons systems that seemed to violate several laws of physics. Most disturbing of all, it wasn't slowing down as it approached the Krillian formation. Captain Chen, Zethare tried one more time. Please reconsider. Even if your vessel is more advanced than it appears, you're outnumbered 47-1. This is suicide. The response came with that same cold certainty. Captain, you're still thinking like the rest of the galaxy. You see 47 ships and think about odds. We see 47 targets and think about timing. Watch and learn what happens when you corner humans and threaten our people. The Krillian fleet was reacting now. Their formation tightened, weapons systems powering up. Energy readings spiked across the electromagnetic spectrum as 47 of the galaxy's most feared warships prepared for battle. The human ship didn't slow down. All ships, battle stations, Zethare ordered. Her crew might not be able to help in the coming slaughter, but she'd be damned if she'd run while someone, even a crazy human, tried to rescue those scientists. On the screen, the Retribution reached the edge of the Krillian formation. For a moment, both sides seemed frozen in time. Then, space itself erupted in fire. The first thing that struck Zethare was the silence. Whatever weapons the human ship was using, they didn't make sound. But they made light, brilliant, cutting beams that seemed to slice through Krillian shields like they weren't there. 3 enemy cruisers simply ceased. Not destroyed, not exploded. They were there one moment and gone the next, leaving only expanding clouds of superheated plasma. By the ancestors, her tactical officer breathed. What kind of weapons are those? The Krillians responded with everything they had. Particle beams, plasma cannons, gravity warheads, enough firepower to sterilize a planet. It all struck the human ship's shields and, simply, stopped. The energy was absorbed, redirected, somehow turned back against the attackers. But, the most terrifying thing was the human ship's movement. It didn't fight like a spacecraft. It fought like a living thing, twisting and diving through the formation with impossible agility. Weapons that should have taken minutes to recharge were firing continuously. The ship seemed to be in 6 places at once. Captain, her communications officer called out, voice shaking. The humans are transmitting on all frequencies. They're broadcasting music. Music? Yes, ma'am. Something called Ride of the Valkyries. And, the captain is speaking. Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge again, but now there was something different about it. Something that made Zethare's skin crawl with primal fear. Krillian fleet, this is your only warning. Release our people and withdraw. You have 30 seconds to comply. The response from the Krillian commander was predictable. Human scum. You face the might of the Krillian Empire. We will crack your ship like an egg and feast on your entrails. The human's response was simple. Wrong answer. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ship stopped playing with its prey and showed what it was really capable of. The beams of light became a storm, carving through the Krillian formation like a scythe through grain. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were reduced to scrap metal in seconds. But it wasn't just the destruction that horrified Zethare. It was the precision. The human ship was somehow targeting only weapons and engines, leaving life support intact. They were systematically crippling the entire fleet without killing a single Krillian. Impossible, she whispered again. The computing power required to target that precisely while moving that fast, it's beyond anything we thought possible. In less than 10 minutes, 47 Krillian warships had been reduced to floating hulks. The human ship hung motionless in the center of the formation, apparently undamaged despite taking enough fire to level a city. Krillian survivors, Captain Chen's voice was calm again. You have 2 choices. Transfer our people to escape pods immediately, or we'll board your stations and take them ourselves. Given what you've seen of our capabilities, I recommend cooperation. The response was immediate. Life signs began moving on the research station's sensors. Within minutes, escape pods were launching, carrying the rescued scientists toward the human ship. Captain Zethra, the human's voice addressed her directly. Thank you for standing by. We'll take it from here. Captain Chen, Zethra found her voice. How? How is any of this possible? The human was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, there was something almost sad in his voice. Captain, you and the rest of the galaxy are about to learn something about humans. We don't just come from a death world. We are the thing that death worlds create. We are what happens when evolution runs out of ways to kill a species, so it starts making them stronger instead. The retribution was already moving, collecting the escape pods and turning toward the edge of the system. As it prepared to leave, Captain Chen spoke one final time. This is a new age, Captain. The galaxy is about to discover that humans don't just survive impossible odds. We thrive on them. And anyone who threatens our people will learn why our ancestors conquered a world that tried to kill them every single day. The human ship vanished in a flash of twisted spacetime, leaving behind only the floating wrecks of 47 Krillian warships and the stunned silence of Zethra's crew. The impossible rescue was complete. But, for the galaxy, the real changes were just beginning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of the incident. Representatives from 200 species gathered in the Great Amphitheater on Nexus Prime, their various forms of agitation creating a cacophony of sounds, smells, and electromagnetic emissions. Ambassador Kethvar of the Selenite Collective stood at the central podium, his crystalline form reflecting the chamber's lights in prismatic patterns. Order! We will have order! His voice resonated through the translation matrix, reaching every species in their native communication method. The chatter died down, but the tension remained thick in the recycled air. In the human section of the gallery, Ambassador Sarah Mitchell sat calmly, her hands folded in her lap. She was small by galactic standards, most species towered over humans, but something about her stillness commanded attention. The chair recognizes Ambassador Telshin of the Vortak Imperium, Kethvar announced. Telshin rose on his 6 legs, his mechanical translator converting his chittering into standard galactic. Honored colleagues, we have witnessed an act of unprecedented aggression. The humans have deployed weapons technology far beyond anything in our databases. They destroyed a Krillian battle group single-handedly. This represents a clear threat to galactic stability. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Vortak had been the galaxy's dominant military power for 3 centuries. The idea that a newcomer species could casually destroy fleets they couldn't touch was deeply unsettling. Ambassador Mitchell stood slowly. Point of order, Ambassador Telshin. We destroyed nothing. We disabled enemy vessels that were holding our people hostage. Every Krillian aboard those ships survived. Semantics. Telshin's wings buzzed angrily. You demonstrated capabilities that upset the balance of power. Where did you acquire such technology? What other weapons do you possess? The human ambassador smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Ambassador, you're asking the wrong questions. You want to know about our technology as if we simply found it or bought it from someone else. You don't seem to understand that we built it ourselves. The chamber erupted in disbelief. Voice translators struggled to keep up with the overlapping protests and questions. The concept was absurd. Every species in the galaxy had achieved spaceflight by building upon the work of their predecessors. Technology was shared, traded, stolen, or reverse engineered. The idea that a single species could develop such advanced capabilities independently was impossible. Order! Order! Kethvar's voice boomed through the chamber. Ambassador Mitchell, please clarify your statement. Sarah Mitchell looked around the chamber, meeting the optical organs of representatives from across the galaxy. Honored colleagues, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about humanity's place in this community. You've classified us as a young species, primitive newcomers who stumbled into space travel relatively recently. You've assumed we would follow the traditional development path, gradually acquiring technology through trade and diplomacy. She paused, letting her words sink in. But, you've made those assumptions without understanding what kind of world produced us. A holographic display materialized above the podium, showing a blue-green planet. To most of the assembled representatives, it looked unremarkable. Beautiful, perhaps, but nothing special. This is Earth, Mitchell continued. Our homeworld. Your xenobiologists have classified it as a Class 12 death world, the highest rating on your scale. What you may not understand is what that classification actually means for a species development. The display zoomed in, showing massive storms, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes that could split continents. Images of Earth's wildlife appeared, creatures that would be considered nightmarish monsters on most civilized worlds. Every day on Earth is a battle for survival, the human ambassador explained. Our planet doesn't just challenge life, it wages active war against it. Magnetic field shifts that can fry electronics. Weather systems that can level cities. Predators that evolved alongside us, becoming more deadly as we became smarter. Ambassador Elerth of the Gentle Streams Confederation raised a tentacle. But surely such conditions would prevent technological development? Civilized advancement requires stability, safety, the ability to pursue knowledge without constant threat. Mitchell's smile turned predatory. That's where you're wrong, Ambassador. Constant threat doesn't prevent advancement, it accelerates it. When your survival depends on outthinking predators that can crush your skull with their jaws, you become very good at innovation. When your planet regularly tries to kill you with disasters that would end civilizations, you learn to prepare for the impossible. The hologram shifted, showing human cities built to withstand earthquakes that would level structures on any other world. Vehicles designed to operate in conditions that would destroy conventional technology. Humans working calmly in environments that would kill most other species within minutes. You see, honored colleagues, you've all had the luxury of developing on stable, peaceful worlds. Your technology grew gradually, shared through trade and cooperation. But humans? We had to earn every advance through blood and struggle. We didn't just develop technology, we weaponized everything we learned. Telshin's translator crackled with static as his agitation increased. This is impossible. No species could advance so rapidly under such conditions. Where are your ancient ruins? Your predecessor civilizations? Your inherited knowledge? We are our own predecessors, Mitchell replied calmly. We didn't inherit our technology because we kept rebuilding it from scratch. Ice ages that wiped out our cities every few thousand years. Volcanic eruptions that reset our civilization. Asteroid impacts that sent us back to the Stone Age. And every single time, we adapted, we learned, we built back stronger. She gestured, and the hologram showed archaeological sites across Earth. We found evidence of at least 12 distinct human civilizations, each one rising and falling as our planet tested us. Each time we were knocked down, we got back up with better tools, better knowledge, better preparation for the next catastrophe. The chamber had fallen silent. The concept was staggering, a species that had essentially bootstrapped itself to advanced technology through repeated near-extinction events. But, the real question, Mitchell continued, isn't how we develop such capabilities. It's why you're surprised that we use them to protect our people. Ambassador Drexka of the Krillian Empire finally spoke, his voice carrying barely controlled rage. Your people murdered 47 of our finest vessels. This act of war will not stand. Mitchell turned to face him directly. Ambassador, I was very specific. We disabled your ships. Every single Krillian aboard survived. If we had wanted to murder your crews, there would be nothing left but expanding plasma clouds. The fact that you're here, alive and complaining, is proof of our restraint. Restraint? Drexka's scales flared purple with anger. You call that devastating display restraint? Yes, Mitchell said simply. Because what you witnessed was a single battlecruiser, using non-lethal force, operating under strict rules of engagement. You held our people hostage and threatened to dissect our greatest scientist. Our response was measured and proportional. She paused, letting that sink in. Would you like to know what an unmeasured response would look like? The silence in the chamber was deafening. Ambassador Kethvar finally spoke. Ambassador Mitchell, the Council needs assurance that humanity will not use these capabilities aggressively. We need guarantees of peaceful intent. Mitchell nodded. Absolutely, Ambassador. Humanity has no interest in conquest or aggression. We joined this community seeking trade, knowledge, and friendship. But, we also want to make something perfectly clear to everyone in this chamber. She stood straighter, and something in her posture made every representative in the room take notice.
We will not allow our people to be threatened.
We will not allow our citizens to be held hostage. We will not stand by while others suffer when we have the power to help.
These are not negotiable principles. And, if the council objects to your methods?
Telshin challenged.
Mitchell's expression didn't change.
Then, the council is welcome to propose alternatives. But, understand this, we've spent our entire evolutionary history learning to survive in a universe that doesn't care about our feelings.
We've developed certain habits when it comes to protecting our own.
She gestured again, and new images appeared on the hologram.
Human settlements on worlds that no other species could survive. Mining operations in the cores of gas giants. Industrial platforms orbiting neutron stars.
You see, honored colleagues, you've been thinking about this all wrong. You assume that because we're new to galactic politics, we're somehow junior partners in this community. You think our technology is impressive but primitive, our methods crude but effective. The images shifted, showing massive industrial complexes, research stations that dwarfed anything in the known galaxy, and ships that made the Retribution look small.
What you don't understand is that we've been preparing for galactic contact for centuries.
We knew that when we finally reached the stars, we would encounter other species.
We knew some of them would be hostile. So we prepared accordingly. Ambassador Elerth's tentacles were trembling. Are you threatening the council?
Mitchell looked genuinely surprised.
Threatening? No, Ambassador. I'm educating. You want to know about human capabilities? You want to understand how we think? Then, you need to understand that we don't make threats. We make promises.
She walked closer to the central podium, her movement causing several representatives to shift nervously in their seats.
I promise you this, humans will be peaceful neighbors.
We will honor our treaties, respect sovereign space, and contribute to galactic prosperity. We will share our knowledge and learn from yours. Her voice hardened. But, I also promise that anyone who threatens our people, holds our citizens hostage, or attacks our ships will discover why evolution spent millions of years trying to kill us and failed every single time. The chamber was silent except for the hum of life support systems.
Now, Mitchell said, returning to her seat, shall we discuss trade agreements?
I believe the Vorthack Collective was interested in our medical technology. As the session continued, representatives throughout the chamber were already composing urgent messages to their home governments. The galaxy had just learned that humanity was not the junior partner they had assumed. The real question now was what that would mean for everyone else. In the depths of space, more human ships moved through the darkness, carrying colonists to worlds that would kill any other species.
In laboratories across human space, scientists worked on projects that would have been considered impossible by galactic standards.
And, in the halls of human government, plans were being made for a future where humanity would never again need to rescue their people from hostile forces. The galaxy was about to discover that the impossible was just another word for Tuesday when you were human.
Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the observation lounge of the TCS Retribution, watching the stars while by as the massive ship traveled through folded space.
3 days had passed since her rescue, and she was still trying to process what she had witnessed.
Penny for your thoughts?
She turned to find Captain Marcus Chen approaching, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 40, with graying hair at his temples and eyes that seemed older than his face. The kind of man who had seen too much but kept going anyway.
Just thinking about the physics, she said, accepting the coffee gratefully.
What I saw during the rescue, it shouldn't have been possible with current technology. Chen smiled, settling into the chair beside her.
Which part? The gravitational manipulation? The precision targeting? The shield harmonics? Elena blinked. All of it. The energy requirements alone should have required a reactor the size of a moon.
But, your ship, it's big, but not that big.
Dr. Vasquez, Chen said, what do you know about human industrial capacity? The question seemed to come from nowhere.
I know humans are skilled manufacturers. Your consumer goods have found ready markets throughout Council space.
But, I don't see how that's relevant.
Chen gestured toward the viewport, where the stars streaked past in impossible patterns.
Tell me, when you first encountered human products, what did you notice about them? Elena thought back. They were well made. Durable.
Often simpler in design than equivalent products from other species, but more reliable.
Human tools in particular had an excellent reputation. And what did that tell you about us?
That you were practical, I suppose.
Focused on function over form. She paused. Why? Because you missed the most important detail, Chen said.
You noticed that our tools were simple and durable.
But did you ask why we needed them to be that way? Elena frowned.
I assumed it was a cultural preference.
Chen laughed, but there was no humor in it. Dr. Vasquez, everything humans build has to survive in an environment that actively tries to destroy it.
Our homeworld doesn't just have bad weather, it has weather that can strip the flesh from your bones.
Our tools aren't simple because we like simple designs. They're simple because complexity is a luxury we couldn't afford. He stood, walking to the viewport.
Every human technology, from the wheel to this starship, was developed under the same principle: it has to work when everything else fails.
Because on Earth, everything else always fails eventually. Elena joined him at the window. I'm beginning to understand. But the technology you used during the rescue, that wasn't simple. Wasn't it? Chen turned to her. What did you see, exactly?
Energy weapons that cut through shields like they weren't there.
Gravitational manipulation that let you move like a fighter while weighing as much as a battleship.
Computing power that could track and target hundreds of weapons systems simultaneously.
All true, Chen agreed. But what you're describing isn't complexity, it's efficiency.
Every system on this ship is designed around a single principle: maximum effect with minimum failure points.
He gestured, and a holographic interface materialized in the air.
The ship's schematics appeared, showing systems within systems, all interconnected but individually capable of independent operation.
See this?
Chen highlighted one section.
Our primary weapons array. Looks complicated, doesn't it? But watch this. The schematic animated, showing various components failing, being damaged, or going offline.
Each time, other systems automatically compensated, rerouting power and adjusting targeting parameters.
It's not one complex system, Elena realized. It's hundreds of simple systems that can work together or alone. Exactly.
Because we learned long ago that if you build something that depends on everything working perfectly, it will fail at the worst possible moment.
Earth taught us that lesson repeatedly.
Elena studied the schematics, beginning to understand.
This design philosophy, you apply it to everything?
Everything. Our ships, our cities, our society. Redundancy, adaptability, and the ability to function when most of your capabilities are gone.
A soft chime indicated an incoming communication.
Chen touched a control, and the image of Admiral Rachel Harrison appeared in the air. Elena recognized her from news broadcasts, the first human to reach flag rank in the Galactic Defense Force, before humanity had pulled out to form their own military. Marcus, we need to talk, Harrison said without preamble. The Council is in chaos.
3 more species have formally requested defense treaties with us.
The Krillians are mobilizing their entire navy.
And someone leaked the footage of your rescue operation to the galactic networks. Chen grimaced. How bad? See for yourself.
Harrison's image was replaced by a news broadcast from the Nexus network, the galaxy's primary information service. The anchor was a selenite, her crystalline features sharp with concern.
Unprecedented display of military capability has sent shockwaves throughout Council space. Military analysts are calling it the most one-sided engagement in recorded galactic history. For analysis, we turn to General Cordan of the Vorthak Strategic Institute. The screen split, showing a massive Vorthak in full military regalia. Velnara, what we witnessed defies everything we thought we knew about combat limitations.
The human vessel demonstrated capabilities that our best modeling suggested were impossible for a ship of that mass. General, there are reports that the human ship sustained no damage despite facing a full Krillian battle group.
Is that accurate? Not only accurate, the humans didn't even bring their shields to full power.
According to our sensors, they were operating at approximately 30% of their maximum defensive capability.
Elena felt the blood drain from her face. 30%?
The Krillians hit us with everything they had, Chen confirmed. But, our shields are designed to stop things a lot more dangerous than plasma cannons.
More dangerous than weapons that can crack planets?
Elena's voice was barely a whisper.
Chen was quiet for a moment.
Dr. Vasquez, you've lived your entire life in Council space. You're used to thinking of warfare in terms of ship-to-ship combat, orbital bombardments, that sort of thing.
But, humans, we've been preparing for war against opponents that don't use ships. What do you mean? Before Chen could answer, Admiral Harrison's voice cut through the broadcast.
Marcus, we're getting reports of Krillian fleet movements.
It looks like they're massing for a major offensive.
The news broadcast was showing tactical displays now, tracking the movement of Krillian forces throughout their territory.
Hundreds of ships were converging on staging areas near the human border.
They're not going to let this stand, Harrison continued. Intelligence suggests they're planning a massive strike against our core systems. They want to prove that what happened was a fluke.
Elena watched the displays with growing horror.
Captain, those are thousands of ships.
Even with your technology.
Dr. Vasquez, Chen interrupted gently.
You're still thinking like the rest of the galaxy.
You see a massive fleet and assume we're outnumbered. He touched the control, switching the display to show human space.
Elena gasped.
Where she expected to see a few dozen systems, she found hundreds. Massive industrial complexes, shipyards that dwarfed anything in Council space, defensive platforms that looked like small moons.
How is this possible? She breathed.
The survey showed only a handful of human colonies. The survey showed only what we wanted them to show, Chen replied.
Dr.
Vasquez, did you really think a species that survived repeated near extinctions would put all their eggs in one basket?
We've been expanding and building for over 2 centuries.
Every system you're looking at has been fortified against threats you can't imagine.
Admiral Harrison's voice continued from the speakers.
The Krillians are about to learn what happens when you threaten a species that spent its entire existence preparing for the end of the world. Elena stared at the displays, trying to comprehend the scale of what she was seeing.
This changes everything. The balance of power in the galaxy
was always an illusion, Chen finished. The galaxy has been at peace for so long that everyone forgot what real military capability looks like. You've all been playing games with obsolete technology and tactics that wouldn't have worked against Earth's militaries 500 years ago. The broadcast switched to footage from various council worlds, showing panic in the streets as populations realized they were about to witness a war between forces they couldn't comprehend.
Captain, Elena said slowly, when the Krillians come, what's going to happen to them?
Chen was quiet for a long moment, watching the tactical displays.
That depends on them, Dr. Vasquez. We're hoping they'll see reason and withdraw. We have no quarrel with the Krillian people. And, if they don't? Then, they're going to learn why humans don't make threats.
Chen's voice was sad but certain. They're going to discover what it means to fight a species that considers extinction-level events just another Tuesday. The ship's intercom crackled to life.
Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Fleet Command. Operation Prometheus is approved for implementation. Elena didn't recognize the code name, but she saw Chen's expression harden. Understood.
Signal the fleet, we're going home to prepare a reception for our guests. As the Retribution began its final approach to human space, Elena realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity was about to change. The impossible rescue had been just the beginning.
The real demonstration was yet to come. In the depths of human space, automated systems were coming online. Shipyards that had been building in secret for decades opened their doors.
Technologies that had never been seen outside human space were loaded onto vessels designed for one purpose, ensuring that humanity would never again need to rescue their people from hostile forces. The Krillian Empire was about to collide with a species that had turned survival into an art form.
And, the galaxy would never be the same.
The stars wheeled on, carrying the promise of changes that would echo through history.
In the void between the stars, 2 civilizations prepared for a confrontation that would redefine what was possible in the galaxy.
Humanity had spent centuries learning that impossible was just another word for difficult. The Krillians were about to receive their first lesson.